Welcome all to Luther College on this historic day. My name is Susan Potvin, and I serve as the Director of Programming and Outreach here at Luther College. All of us are thrilled to have you with us here in the Center for Faith and Life in celebration of the visit to Decorah by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Haakon of Norway. I'd like to take a moment to go over a few things before the official program begins. Thank you for remaining seated inside the main hall as we await the arrival of His Royal Highness. You may notice some guests arriving over the next several minutes. Many of them are the volunteers that have helped with the events of the day, from parking officials and shuttle drivers to door holders and trumpet players. Thank you to all of them and to everyone that played a part in preparing for this special day. Upon the conclusion of the program, please remain in your seats while the Crown Prince and his accompanying delegation exit the main hall first. Shuttle service back to the Jardine Fieldhouse parking lot on Lower Campus will begin approximately 2:15 p.m. Today is a great day of celebration, a day to commemorate the beginning of organized migration from Norway to North America 200 years ago. In that time, the relationship between Norway and the United States has become one of strategic importance for both countries. Our town of Decorah is an important hub for connection to and with Norway, past, present, and here today, we celebrate the future. This is the 9th time that Luther College has had the honor of hosting a member of the Norwegian royal family. For the next few minutes, please enjoy a photo display of some of those moments from previous visits to Luther College. Assistant Professor of Music and college organist Alex Messler will provide some organ music to underscore the images. As the arrival of His Royal Highness draws closer, you may begin to hear trumpet fanfare from outdoors. Thank you, and please enjoy your time here at Luther College.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Luther College. Thank you for joining us at this celebration, convocation, in honor of His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Haakon of Norway. The convocation today is part of an international commemoration of the bicentennial of organized emigration from Norway to the United States of America. Today, we celebrate the historic and enduring connections between Norway and the United States of America. Today, we lift up the story of a people separated by an ocean, but united by their heritage, their values, and their collective pursuit of the common good. The convocation today honors His Royal Highness Crown Prince Haakon and his service to human rights, environmental responsibility, and building bonds between our nations. Service that embodies community, inclusivity, and sustainability. Service that has encouraged compassion, dialogue, and action. On behalf of the Board of Regents, faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Luther College, I enthusiastically welcome His Royal Highness Crown Prince Haakon to Luther College and extend our gratitude and appreciation for his presence here today. We are indeed fortunate and honored. I now invite Mayor Lorraine Borowski and Representative Ashley Hinson to the stage to offer greetings from the governments of the city of Decorah, the state of Iowa, and the United States of America. Please join me in welcoming them.
Thank you, President Chamberlain. It is my privilege today, on behalf of the elected officials of our city and our county, to welcome His Royal Highness. Sorry about that. How about Highness? The Crown Prince Haakon Norway to Decorah and the great state of Iowa. Our town and your family have had a storied history dating back almost a century ago when we welcomed your grandfather, King Olaf V, to our community back in 1939. The tradition continues with your father, His Majesty King Harald V visits, and of course, your own, here today to provide welcome on behalf of our federal officials is our congressional representative, the Honorable Ashley Hinson.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Senator Grassley, Senator Ernst, and our entire Iowa congressional delegation, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome, Crown Prince. Norway and Iowa share deep historic ties, and this year we celebrate the 200th anniversary of the first organized crossing of the Norwegian immigrants. And we remember the hopes and the dreams that brought them across the ocean and then across half a continent to make their homes here in Iowa. And I'm sure there were a lot of similarities because Norwegian winters probably feel a lot like they do right here in northern Iowa. It is fitting that we come together to celebrate the past here at Luther College as well, where descendants of those first voyagers created the first institution to help educate their children and preserve their legacy. But we're also here today to think about their future, and we're excited to see about partnerships between Norway and the United States, institutions like Luther and the Vesterheim that can help to spur innovation, entrepreneurship, and stronger cultural ties. So thank you, Your Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, for visiting us today, and we are so pleased to welcome you back to Iowa. Thank you so much.
Luther College is the first institution of higher education in the United States founded by Norwegian immigrants. Luther College is also the home of the Richard L. and Judith A. Torgerson Center for Nordic Studies. It is the only endowed undergraduate center for Nordic studies in the United States. The mission of the center is to foster connection with today's Nordic region, and especially with Norway, through innovative programs and partnerships. Luther College also offers a degree in Nordic studies through academic courses within the Department of Modern Languages and Cultures. Each semester, approximately 125 students at Luther College enroll in courses in Norwegian language and Nordic culture. Each year, at least 20 students from Luther College study abroad in Norway. Luther College is proud of its Norwegian heritage and its historic immigrant identity. Working together, the Torgerson Center for Nordic Studies and its related degree program ensure that Luther College remains grounded in Nordic values such as equality, mutual respect, and innovation that have shaped the college throughout its history. They infuse Luther College with a spirit that reflects Nordic commitments to service on behalf of the common good. They provide offerings that incorporate Nordic insights in the areas of business, healthcare, education, and peace and conflict resolution. And they serve as a gateway to international exchange opportunities that enable Luther College and its students, faculty, staff, and alumni to be global citizens with a global impact. The following three projects serve as brief examples of Luther College's commitment to expanding its connections with Norway and to advancing our shared values. Illustrating a mutual commitment to sustainability, Luther College purchased a stake in the Future Library, a project in Nordmarka, Oslo, Norway. Future Library is a public artwork that aims to collect an original work by a popular writer every year from 2014 to 2114. The works will remain unread and unpublished until 2114. 1,000 trees were specially planted for the project in the Nordmarka forest at its inception. 100 manuscripts will be printed in limited edition anthologies using paper made from the trees. The artwork on the stage today is the actual certificate of Luther's stake in the Future Library project and hangs in Preuss Library. By owning a stake in the Future Library, Luther College will receive in 2114 a copy of the manuscripts that have been collected. Luther College honors this connection to Norway that promotes the sustainability of people, conversation, open debate, and literacy. Illustrating a mutual commitment to innovation, this convocation marks the official unveiling of site plans for the renovation of Campus House to serve as the new home of the Torgerson Center for Nordic Studies. In collaboration with Snow Hedda, Luther College is transforming Luther College's oldest building, a building that is central to its identity, into a welcoming and vibrant space that reflects a Nordic ethos and aesthetic, and that is open and accessible to communities both on and off campus. Illustrating a mutual commitment to exchange, I now ask Provost Bacon to unveil a cornerstone that will be placed in the renovated campus house. The cornerstone bears the Crossings logo and the inscription dedicated by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Haakon. For Luther College and its broader community, this visit by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Haakon and this cornerstone inaugurates new energy and a renewed commitment to exchange that honors the history of the founders of Luther College and the enduring connection between Luther College and Norway. At this time, all are invited to join in the singing of the hymn, Built on a Rock. Nordic choir will sing the middle verse alone, and everyone is welcome to sing together on both the first and last verses. Please stand as you are able.
From his earliest years, His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Haakon, has carried forward Norway's long tradition of public service, global responsibility, and care for community. As heir to the Norwegian throne, the Crown Prince has combined the duties of the royal office with a profound commitment to justice, sustainability, and human dignity. For the Norwegian American community, the Crown Prince's presence in the Midwest of the United States in this bicentennial year strengthens the enduring ties between Norway and the United States. At Luther College, those ties are woven into our history, our mission, and our vision for the future, as reflected in our mission to inspire and equip students to courageously serve the common good. The Crown Prince's service embodies many of Luther College's core values, especially community, sustainability, and inclusiveness. The Crown Prince's work with the United Nations Development Program and leadership in advancing the Sustainable Development Goals testify to the conviction that the challenges of poverty, inequality, and climate change demand the shared responsibility of all nations. In the Crown Prince's engagement with young people across the globe, he has encouraged dialogue, compassion, and action, reminding us that leadership is measured in empathy and service. For Luther College, the first institution of higher learning to be founded in this country by Norwegian immigrants, the visit of His Royal Highness brings great honor and a strengthened commitment to our college's relationships with the Kingdom of Norway. The connection to Norway has shaped the character, culture, and spiritual life of the institution. In recognition of His Royal Highness's dedication to human rights, environmental responsibility, and the bonds between our nations, Luther College proudly confers upon Your Royal Highness, Crown Prince Haakon of Norway, the degree of Doctor of Civil Law, honoris causa.
President Chamberlain, members of the Board of Regents, faculty, students, alumni, distinguished guests, dear friends. First, let me say how deeply honored I am to receive this recognition. To be granted an honorary doctorate from Luther College is not just a privilege, it is a moment that I will treasure. Now, I should confess that my father received this honorary doctorate at the early age of 28. So yes, it took me a little longer, but as I stand before you today, I like to think that I eventually caught up. I want to thank you for the very warm welcome that I have received here at Luther College, outside with all the students, the faculty, and all the people, and of course also with the music, with the brass outside, with this orchestra, with the choir, with a very high level, I must say. What a gift to listen to all of you. Thank you. Today, I want to talk about the stories that bind us together. The story of Norway and the United States. What is it that connects our nations? What ties our people together across oceans? I believe it is the stories that we share, that we tell ourselves and that we tell each other. Stories of courage and curiosity, stories of hardship and hope, stories that remind us who we are and who we aspire to be. Let me start with one of those stories. It begins, as so many good stories do, with a man in leather clothes, long hair, and a helmet. Actually, without horns. As you know, the Vikings didn't have horns. I know that you can see some horns around campus. They're everywhere. But that's, they didn't actually use them. Maybe some of you have seen the series Vikings Valhalla. You might remember this character called Leif Erikson, a bold, thoughtful explorer. Where am I pointing this? See? It worked. Here he is. Now, the show does take some liberties. Don't look to it for historical facts. But the true story is just as inspirational and interesting. As you know, Ericsson is believed to be the first European to set foot on the American continent over 1,000 years ago. I should note here that our understanding of the Viking Age continues to be shaped by the saga literature, which was often written down a couple of hundred years after the fact and formed as stories that would grip the reader. So maybe not the best source for accuracy. But we have found remains of Norse settlements in Newfoundland in Canada, so the Norse were there around this time. So this, in any case, the settlers soon came into contact with the indigenous Americans who had already lived in the area for more than 20,000 years. Sources suggest that there were trade between them, but they also indicate that there were episodes of conflict and violence, probably a bit of both. This is Christian Krog's depiction of when Leif Erikson sees land, Vineland. Now, let's be clear. To claim Eriksson as Norwegian is not entirely correct either. Probably born in Iceland, raised in Greenland, son of a Norwegian father and an Icelandic mother, he was Norse. And his journey to Vineland didn't change history the way Columbus' voyage did 500 years later. The Norse settlements didn't last more than a few years, but the story did. It endured in the sagas, it echoes through time. And in 3 days, this country will celebrate Leif Erikson Day. Why? Because his voyage said something about us. It said that we were a people willing to sail into unknown territory, to risk the storms of the promise of something better. That spirit, the courage to cross an ocean, would resurface centuries later. Fast forward 800 years. A young woman named Martha Jørgensdottir is born in a small island in Norway. Life is hard and tough. Her family is poor, and when her father dies, they lose their farm. But Martha dreams of something more. She meets a Quaker named Larsen Geilane, and they share a vision, a life of freedom, a life of opportunity. And so in 1825, they board a tiny sloop called Restoration. 52 souls on a boat that wasn't bigger than it could really fit 16. So they're quite crammed. Martha is also pregnant when she goes on board. After a 98-day journey through several storms in the Atlantic Ocean, the small vessel finally arrives in New York on the 9th of October. And when they step ashore, they are 53. Martha's child is born on the journey, a promise of a new life. It was considered a miracle that everyone survived. That voyage marked the beginning of something extraordinary. Over the next century, more than 800,000 Norwegians would follow. 1 in 3 left their homeland. They came for land, for liberty, for a chance to live their faith. And when they arrived, they built communities, right here in Iowa and across the Midwest. They built churches and schools, they built lives, and they built a bridge between our nations that still stands today. That bridge held firm in our darkest hour. On April 9th, 1940, my family fled as the Nazi forces marched into Oslo. My great-grandfather, King Haakon, and my grandfather, Crown Prince Olav, moved to London with the exile government. My grandmother, Crown Princess Martha, fled to Stockholm with my father and his sisters. But Sweden wasn't considered safe enough, so they continued north through Finland and boarded SS American Legion that was sent by President Franklin D. Roosevelt. At the invitation of the president, they found a safe home in the United States. They moved to Pucks Hill, just outside Washington, D.C. In those years, America was not just an ally. It was a lifeline. And for that, Norway will always be grateful. So here we see a picture. To the left, you can see the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt. My grandmother, my grandfather, Crown Prince Olav. In the middle is the mother of the president, Sarah Roosevelt. My grandmother, Crown Princess Martha, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. I was showing these pictures to my father, and he said, "Oh yeah, that is Falla. That's the president's dog. He used to play with him." And here he is at the Potomac River, outside of D.C., and he said, "See, I've been into fishing my whole life." He's a very, very keen fisherman. Half a century later, I came here myself, not as a refugee, but as a student. After serving in the Navy, I wanted to learn more about the world. And like so many before me, I looked to America, because this country has always believed in the power of knowledge, building some of the best learning environments in the world. Luther College is part of that proud tradition. It was an easy choice. My years at Berkeley were a time of freedom, intellectual and personal. I learned from impressive professors, and they were impressive. But I learned just as much from my fellow students, people from every corner of the globe with every kind of perspective. We didn't always agree, but we listened, we argued, we learned. And that is the essence of a free society. The courage to exchange ideas without fear. Universities have an absolutely critical role to play as sites for free exchange of ideas. Independent teaching and research is at the heart of a free society. And so, to the students here today, cherish that freedom. Seek out those that are different from you. Be curious, be generous, because that is how we grow. When I had finished my studies at Berkeley, I made an official trip to 11 states to visit Norwegian-American communities. This was one of the places I went. Another was Sioux Falls in South Dakota. I forget what the exact event was, but I remember that there were 2 short prayers said before we started. The first was given by a local priest, and the second by tribal chairman Webster Tuhawk. I'm paraphrasing here, but it went something like this. May the wind blow to strengthen your mind. May the sun always shine on your back. May the path you walk be smooth. May you find the strength to fight your inner enemies. May your life be in balance. There was something soothing about his words. They seemed universal and deeply human, like they could apply to people everywhere, at any time. Still, it felt like he was talking directly to me. Dear friends, thank you again for the honorary doctorate. I will carry it as a symbol of the close friendship between the United States and Norway. Thank you for keeping alive the stories that bind us together across oceans, across generations, across time. Thank you for your attention, and may your life be in balance.
Luther College articulated several institutional goals as we anticipated how we might join the international commemoration of the bicentennial of organized emigration from Norway to the United States of America. We endeavored to explore how the Norwegian heritage of Luther College shaped it historically and contributed to the development of its mission, culture, and priorities. We endeavored to foster an understanding of the ways Luther College's Norwegian heritage enable it to be historically rooted, to be open to all peoples and perspectives, and to vibrantly fulfill its mission. We endeavored to expand and deepen connection between the peoples of Luther and Decorah with the people and government of Norway, connections that support partnerships and mutual adaptations that address the needs of a global society. On behalf of all of Luther College, I thank His Royal Highness Crown Prince Haakon for his presence here today. I thank each of you for your presence here today. Thank you for your part in helping to commemorate the crossing. Thank you for your part in helping us to deepen the connections between us, connections that demonstrate how we are united by our heritage, our values, and our collective pursuit of the common good. As we close the celebration convocation, I ask the audience to remain in your seats while His Royal Highness Crown Prince Haakon exits the main hall, and to remain seated until the concert band finishes the recessional fanfare. Thank you. Tusen takk. Please enjoy the rest of your afternoon.